Hi, everyone. Excited to welcome you all to this 8th cohort demo day. Before we get started with people demoing, which is really the point here, just wanted to say a few words about why we're here and why Immerse in the first place. Since the beginning, I mean, we've been doing Bubble now for more than 13 years, and the goal we set, the mission we set for ourselves is to make entrepreneurship and technology accessible to everyone. And of course, we do that through our product on a self-serve basis, but it was also something we wanted to do for a select group of people that we select. So this is a selective program to be a little bit more hands-on and offer them more than just our product. And that's coaching and a little bit and some money for people who do well. And that's what we're about to do today. So this 8th cohort, I mean, time flies. The first time we did this was of the summer of 2020. This 8th cohort today is about AI for good. I mean, AI is something that everybody's talking about. And people sometimes, worry that it may have some implications for the world that can be challenging. And so we thought it would be good to try to select some people that think about how AI can actually have a very positive impact on the world. And there are many ways this can happen. And so it's very exciting for me today to open Demo Day, this Immerse Demo Day, and see what people have done. So without further ado, I'll let Nichole say a few words, and then really excited to get started, to watch these demos and to select the winner.
Thank you, Emmanuel. All right, everyone. Welcome. As Emmanuel said, to our 8th demo day. I'm so excited to have you all here. As Emmanuel mentioned, we started this program a few years back, and we're now at the point where we're so excited to figure out who else can come under this umbrella and really just celebrate with us as we are supporting founders who are solving some of the world's biggest problems. So if you are here for the second year in a row, then you may have been here when we celebrated with Renee, our winner from last year. So we're excited actually to have her back. And so we have a bunch of things that we're going to be sharing with you guys tonight. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about why we're here tonight. So one, to mark this transition from no-code entrepreneurship to AI-powered entrepreneurship. And that matters for us as a company because there's two main things that we find that, or at least in the Immerse program, that founders end up coming to us for. One, the speed, and two, the agency. And we know for all early stage or early concept founders, that matters the most when you're trying to swivel on a dime, when you're trying to pivot based on feedback that you're getting, right? Next is social entrepreneurship. So if you are in this room, we found a lot of people here from Nigeria. I saw Colombia, Brazil. And the facts are that 4 out of 5 people in this room are actually living in a country where the social progress is actually declining. So for us, putting a stake in the ground for social entrepreneurship is important because not only are people using AI-powered, in this new AI-powered world, are we building apps for big problems, but also big, really important problems that can actually help us get a little bit further up on the social progress. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen next. So you are going to hear from 4 founders, and I'm excited for you all to hear from them because they have really built these apps with sweat, blood, tears, and really before going into their build, actually really getting into the nuances of what the customers are actually asking for, what the users are looking for. And so we're excited for you to get a look at what they've actually been able to build. But then secondly, we love this part of Immerse because you get to crowdsource your favorite. We have a very big bubble community. And so just getting your input on who you think put together a really slick looking app, an app that has a purpose and has an impact is important to us. So you actually help us choose the second winner of the night, our community favorite. And third, you'll be able to hear from Renee, as I mentioned earlier, and the person that she brought in as her collaborator, her partner, who's also a CTO and founder himself, which is Jagger. And so if you're on our socials and you follow us at all, you may have seen that this time around, he joined the Immerse program as our first AI specific advisor. And so we're excited to see for you all to hear from both of them in conversation because what started out as a product mentorship relationship has actually blossomed into something so much beautiful. And so we're excited for you to hear from them and just get a sense of how that relationship has unfolded and as they've been building in Bubble together. I'm sorry about that. And obviously last, then we'll choose our finalists as well. So let's talk a little bit about Immerse. For those of you who are here for the very first time, you may be wondering, like, what exactly is the program? What is it that we do here? And so very simply, at Bubble, Immerse is our product-first accelerator where we're equipping. We started with underrepresented founders, but then have since branched out into underrepresented sectors like social impact. And like I said, we decided to really put our stake in the ground here because we believe that AI can really power purpose-driven, mission-driven companies. And we help founders do that. We equip them to build these apps actually in just 8 to 10 weeks. Let's talk a little bit about who supports these founders. As I mentioned, we have a huge Bubble ecosystem, and I can't thank them enough just for the folks who really volunteer their time and effort. And so before we get into the actual mentor network, on the Bubble home team, we have a volunteer committee of about 20 to 30 folks that sign up for every single cohort to actually help us find the founders that you're going to see in in their glory tonight, pitching and showing the demos that they built. So first off, I want to say a huge thanks to our volunteer committee, but then also to the Immerse Mentor Network. So many of these people are in the audience today. I did see Kelly Claus, our program instructor, who's also just a phenomenal person just in general, but also just a great teacher. Brian Jagger, as we mentioned, also a phenomenal educator, focused on AI and was our AI advisor in this particular cohort, but also Benoit, who we met last year at BubbleCon in person, who came up to me and said, hey, I really want to support a social impact venture next time around. So we appreciate that, Benoit. Also, Charlie, Christopher, Clementine, Facundo, Jagdish, thank you guys so much for your support of the founders. And Taras, Toby, Omar, Prashant, and Rob, thank you all so much for your support in our mentor network. And again, it would not be easy for us to get to the ramp up point that we did if we did not have people from the Immerse community who were supporting these founders. So thank you so much. So I want to introduce, you all are no stranger to, you're no strangers to Emmanuel, the co-founder of Bubble. And actually for the first time, I will be joining the judge panel today after advising, hundreds of founders at this point coming through the Immerse program, but also folks who apply and may not yet meet our bar. It's exciting to be on the other side of this in the judge room to be able to support. But then also, I'm most excited to bring, to add to this judge panel this time around, a little bit more of a product flavor. So we have our VP of product who just jumped into the fray last month, and he's heading up our vision here at Bubble when it comes to AI building. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about his background and share where the point of view that Brian's going to be sharing from tonight on the judge panel. So Brian started his career in product management at Microsoft and Google, where he worked on products such as Google Maps and Google Docs. Since then, he's led product teams at both growth stage startups and mature businesses and industries, including recruiting, restaurant tech, and professional services. As VP of product at Bubble, he's excited to be leading the product team as they pave the way for AI visual development. So obviously there's going to be a lot that comes out of Brian and his teams over the next several months. So thank you so much for making the time, Brian and Emmanuel. So let's talk a little bit about you. This is your responsibility tonight. First up, listen and take notes. So the founders that we have tonight, I think, are just a really great representation of how to get into an app and really just dig in without any sort of inhibitions around how many folks you've been able to talk to. There's some founders who hesitate to get started because they feel like they haven't had enough stuff just yet. These founders really represent individuals who can roll up their sleeves and say, hey, it's time to build. And so it's exciting to actually for you guys to hear from them because I think it will be really inspiring for those of you who've been thinking about building product. Next, we want you to vote. As we mentioned, it's really important to us that you help us select the finalist because we are, as we mentioned, we are a big community, and the Bubble ecosystem, we have product mentors, a lot of people who are plugging into and supporting these founders. So it's important to us that you also, when it comes to this cohort and the next cohorts, that you're supporting founders that are coming out of this program. So we do want you to make your voice heard at this point. And third, we want you to join the after party. So we have a few folks in the office already. Thank you all for joining. But also, we will be having a live after party online on Butter. And so we'll share a bit about that actually shortly. But in the meantime, for those of you who are tuning in online, those of you who are on Twitter or X rather, and other places, please use our hashtags Immerse Founders, Immerse at Bubble, Immerse 2025 if you're interested in sharing about what's gone on here tonight. And so the bulk of the night will be dedicated to these individuals. And so I want to quickly go through who you're going to hear from. You're going to hear from Erica Terry, her company Love On 'Em. and I'll share a little bit about who each is. You'll also hear from Katie Kirk, the founder of Makerlist. You will also hear from Quinn, our third founder of the night, from Reading to Connect. And lastly, you'll hear from Stephanie, the founder of VerbaVista. Okay. And so with that being said, I'm excited to bring our first founder to the virtual stage tonight, Erica. Erica is coming to us from Noonan, Georgia, actually. And she's really solving for, in the middle of a health crisis, when you're looking to preserve the legacy and the memories, right, of your loved one, what would you do? Right? Erica answers that question with her app. And so I'm excited for you all to hear a bit about her business, and then she'll show you the product. Erica?
All right. Actually, thank you. All right. So I'm super excited to be here today. And to kick things off, I have a simple question for you that I want you to go ahead and answer in the chat. What is your favorite love song? I'm thinking of songs like I Will Always Love You, Thinking Out Loud, Endless Love. These types of songs make you believe that love is going to last forever. But then sometimes life happens, and we're quickly reminded just how fragile forever really is. For me, that reminder came in 2021 when my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. My biggest fear in that moment was that our 5-year-old daughter would grow up without his wisdom guiding her through life's biggest moments. And in case you're wondering, he is completely healed now. But that season taught me something powerful. People we love deserve to keep feeling our presence even after we're gone. But the reality is that even with all our AI, all of our tech, we've built systems that transfer our assets, but not our affection. My husband's cancer journey revealed something that I just couldn't ignore any longer. We spend years preparing for what we'll leave behind, but almost no time preparing for how we'll keep showing up after we're gone. That's why during Immerse, I built Love on Them, a native mobile app that helps families close that connection gap through 3 simple and powerful experiences that you'll get to see in just a few minutes. And at the heart of it all is Ellis. She's our compassionate AI companion that helps you find the right words, especially when you have hard news to share. Because our goal is to make sure that your love is never left unsaid. Because AI's greatest power isn't automation, it's amplification. And Ellis helps you to amplify love, legacy, and the moments that matter most. And the demand for deeper connection is quickly rising. 3 fast-growing markets: AI companionship, emotional wellness, and digital legacy are projected to surpass $30 billion by 2030. And Love on Them sits at the intersection. To bring Love on Them to families everywhere, we've developed a 4-phase path to revenue. First, we're going to launch the beta to my warm audience of over 20,000 followers and subscribers. And then next month, we are going to release the freemium app in the Google and App stores with free love notes for everyone, and then a $59 a year plan that will unlock premium features. From there, we'll scale through influencer marketing so that we can acquire our first 10,000 users without heavy ad spend. And finally, to unlock new distribution and licensing revenue, we're going to expand into brand partnerships with greeting card companies, that embed love on them inside of their products. Now, if you're sitting here already thinking of family and friends that you want to love on, then I want to personally invite you to join us inside of the free Love on Them Daily Challenge that you can enroll in today at loveonthem.com to get early access to the app when it's released next month. Now, remember those love songs that you dropped earlier? I'm singing Love of My Life by Brian McKnight, My Endless Love. All of these love songs that we've talked about, they are singing about love that lasts forever. And we're finally making it real. And while each one of our family stories are different, there's one thread that we all have in common. And that's the desire to stay connected to the ones that we love. So now let me show you how it all comes together for one mom named Monique.
Monique just found out she has pancreatic cancer. She's hopeful but heartbroken because as a mom, all she can think about are the firsts she might miss with her daughter. First day of high school, first heartbreak, first baby. So she turns to Love on Them, a mobile app that helps families capture their love so it lives on through generations. After signing up, Monique upgrades to the Forever plan, giving her peace of mind that her family will always feel her presence. Her first message won't be an easy one. Before she can think about the future, she has to face the hardest moment, telling her mom about the diagnosis. Overwhelmed and unsure of how to find the right words, she taps Ellis, our AI companion built to help families express what's in their hearts when words are hard to find. Ellis asks, "Who's on your heart today?" "My mom. I don't know how to tell her I have cancer." After a few gentle questions, Ellis offers 3 compassionate prompts to guide her. Monique chooses one, presses record, and through tears creates a short love note sharing her diagnosis and her love. She snaps a cover photo and sends it. Moments later, her mom is able to view the message in their private chat thread, a space where love can live, grow, and never be lost. After that emotional release, Monique opens Share My Story, a place to capture the memories that made her who she is today. She reads through guided prompts such as, "Who influenced your faith the most when you were young?" Monique smiles softly. "That's easy. My grandma Lula," she says, recording a joyful story about lessons learned in her grandma's kitchen. When she's done, she saves it to her story library, knowing her family will one day laugh together as they watch her retell her favorite stories. Feeling hopeful and inspired, Monique opens the Forever tab and discovers Forever Journeys, guided experiences to record messages for life's biggest moments. She imagines the day her daughter becomes a mom herself and records a heartfelt love note. Then she taps the schedule send button and scrolls through the calendar, picturing that moment years from now. Unsure of the exact date, she saves it to her Forever locker and then adds her husband as her guardian angel. That way, if life happens and she's no longer here, he'll continue to have access to make sure Eva still receives her love on that special day. While much of the world uses AI to boost productivity and replace jobs, Love on Them is building AI that helps families slow down and stay connected forever. Because the real legacy we leave isn't assets, it's the love and affection that lives on after we're gone.
Great job, Erica. Great job. Fantastic pitch. And so we'll hear from the judges now. Those in the audience, if you have questions, actually, Erica's going to get to them. Any specific questions you have, make sure you drop them in the Q&A panel there. Here that we have a separate panel, and she'll get to them after this portion. Okay? And so with that being said, Brian or Emmanuel, any questions?
I guess I can start. So sorry to be the downer on that one, but it's a business, right? So I'm curious about the business model here. Like, so you're saying, of course, when you launch your application, you're not thinking about monetization, but how you think about monetizing? Is it like a one-time fee? Is it something recurring? Like who's going to pay? How much testing have you done here?
Yes, so the monetization strategy is a recurring subscription plan. We're thinking of like $59 a year or $9.99 a month that a user would pay for access to the premium features that we talked about, like Share My Story, Forever Journey. And the beauty is that in our customer discovery, we found that our target audience of primarily like sandwich generation moms who have young children as well as aging parents. They bring their families with them when they're using the app. And so we're thinking of expanding with like a family plan that will give multiple accounts so that as people exchange love notes, they all have access to those premium features.
And have you done some testing in terms of willingness to pay there?
We haven't started testing quite yet. We do have our beta starting in just a few weeks, but we did get, we know from our customer discovery that our target customer is already investing in things like memory books, keepsakes, apps where they might be able to have one part of it, like sharing stories, but we're creating a complete tool that will allow them to get access to all of those memories in one place.
Okay.
Thank you for the pitch, Erica. Really think it's a great problem that you're trying to solve here. I'm sure that for many, recording these videos is challenging in these circumstances. I'm curious to hear, in talking with various people who are in this position, what's their comfort and willingness in like recording themselves, having to talk through these scenarios relative to other options like writing a note or speaking with someone face to face. Is that something they're interested in, and do they feel comfortable doing that?
Yes, with social media now, people, the comfort of being on video, sharing video messages, people are getting more comfortable with it. Definitely, when you think about sharing with your family, with your friends, with the ones that you love, being able to schedule messages into the future so that not only do they hear your voice, but they get to see your face. And it's not like a deep fake or an avatar. It's actually you saying, I love you, I miss you, I'm so proud of you in this moment. That amount of joy and emotion that it brings to the user as well as to the loved one that they're sending it to makes it something that they enjoy doing and that they want to do.
Great.
Thank you, Brian. And so my question here, Erica, is I'm curious if you can share a little bit with the audience and the judge panel here. You talked a little bit about your personal experience, and in the cohort where we are aware of just what the impetus, what the starter was for you in this pain point. And so I wanted to hear, or I wanted the group to hear a little bit from you about how you've been able to move beyond yourself to other people who've experienced, this kind of pain, and what, in your case, you were forced to kind of figure out this pain point. But can you talk a little bit more about how you've done sort of that research, or that qualitative research with other people like you who've experienced this?
Yes, we can look at or think about the number of GoFundMe's that you see because the unexpected happened. A family member passed away, or got a sickness, a disease. Like, you just never know what's going to happen. And so just like we plan our life insurance, we plan to transfer our assets, this app allows you to be able to plan to consistently show up in the lives of your loved ones, even if life happens and you no longer are here to do it. And so by proactively recording videos for weddings or first babies or graduations, that ensures that your loved ones will feel your presence in the future. And with the bubble technology, we're able to schedule those messages, schedule those emails, add on that guardian angel protection, all right there in the app, so that if life happens, your presence will still be felt in your family.
Thank you, Erica. All right. So that is, Erica, thank you so much. We appreciate the time and effort for your pitch. And we are going to move on now to our next founder. Our next founder is going to be coming to us from Los Angeles. So Katie is actually solving or building in Bubble to solve for eliminating the production barriers, I think, that come in the way for folks who are producing art. So you can imagine the world needs a lot of art right now to metabolize just what's going on around us. And so we're excited to bring Katie to the floor to talk about her solution to remove those barriers for artists.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Katie Kirk, and I'm the founder of Makerlist, the marketplace for creative collaboration. I've spent 15 years as a working artist and 8 years as a product designer in tech. Here's the reality. Without institutional support or gallery backing, artists are limited to their personal networks and what they can make themselves. The driving factor in executing ambitious work isn't talent, it's access. And without it, artists either scale down, miss opportunities, or leave the field entirely. Here's what I believe. In 2025, when our world feels increasingly chaotic, politically, socially, culturally, art isn't a luxury. It's how we make sense of what's happening around us. It's how we process, protest, and imagine better futures. But right now, institutions are losing funding, galleries are closing, and the infrastructure that supported artists is disappearing. My mission is to build the creative infrastructure that doesn't exist, so any artist with a vision can execute it. And this problem isn't just my problem. It's systematic. Right now, thousands of artists are stuck because finding reliable production help is fragmented, time-consuming, and inefficient. These are real posts from the artist communities I'm in, each one representing someone searching for a collaborator, a welder, an embroiderer, and a framer. I also experienced this myself recently. A simple welding job for a sculpture took 2 weeks to coordinate, and I nearly missed the deadline for a show I was so lucky to be a part of. The coordination happens across multiple platforms. There's no central place to find help, compare options, or manage the work. And the worst part is, this is just how it works. 51% of LA artists report income instability, partly because this process of finding and managing skilled help is complete chaos. But it doesn't have to be like this. Makerlist is the marketplace for creative collaboration that helps artists execute ambitious work, access skilled makers, and earn income, built for how artists actually work, visually and iteratively. Existing marketplace platforms aren't built for physical fabrication. They're focused on digital work and home repairs, not coordinating custom builds. And they stop the moment something ships. Makerlist handles the entire journey, eventually becoming your full production partner. For my MVP, I focused on 3 differentiating features and 1 community insight. 1, AI concept image generation. You describe what you're making, and AI creates a visual so everyone's aligned. 2, a visual collaboration workspace, a living mood board designed for how creative people think and work. And 3, dual role dashboards, seamless switching between hiring and earning. And one thing I learned from my community is money isn't always the currency. So beyond standard payments, the platform supports service and artwork trades. The business model starts simple. A 10% transaction fee on the supply side. Later, I can layer in sponsored listings, premium subscriptions, and white glove services where Makerlist handles the entire production journey. My go-to-market strategy is really network-driven and starts local. I'm launching in Los Angeles with my existing community. From there, we'll expand to other US art hubs targeting art schools, galleries, and studio programs with our eye on the $3 billion US market. And here's why global expansion is inevitable. Artists are inherently mobile. They move for MFA programs, residencies, and exhibitions across borders. That mobility creates a $15 billion global market that needs infrastructure. Here's what I've done so far. I've conducted over 20 interviews that confirmed production management is one of the top pain points for working artists. I'm embedded in 7 artist communities across WhatsApp, Slack, and Facebook with over 9,000 members combined. And 30 artists have committed to be my first beta users. And the MVP is functional and launching in January. So if you're an artist who needs production help or a maker with a skill to offer, join the waitlist at joinmakerlist.com. Now let me show you what I built.
Julia is an LA-based artist who recently lost her studio in the Eden fire. She has a show in 6 weeks and needs to rebuild everything, starting with a custom sculpture pedestal. She could post on Instagram and hope the right person sees it, or try Thumbtack and end up with a woodworker who has no idea how artists actually work. She doesn't have time for that, so she comes to Makerlist. After logging in, Julia starts by creating a new project from her project dashboard. She can explore sample projects to see what's possible, or jump right in and describe what she needs in plain language. I need a wood pedestal about 3 feet tall. Makerlist generates a concept image, so she and future collaborators can visualize it together. This isn't a rigid project brief, it's the visual foundation for the entire project and something she and her collaborators can actively build from. When she's satisfied, she moves on to finalize the project details in a 3-step process. She enters details, descriptions, and on the final step, her budget. Or if cash is tight, she can offer an artwork trade or service exchange instead. This is how artists have always worked with each other. If there are providers who match her project, she'll see them right away. If not, she can post it as a job and let her community come to her. For now, Julia wants to see all the providers who can help her. She clicks Explore Services to browse all service providers. She views Sam's service profile for custom pedestals and directly requests a quote. Back at her dashboard, Julia has a high-level view of all her projects. She can track progress and manage project quotes from applicants all in one place. When she finds the right fit, she hires Sam and kicks off the project. What makes Makerlist different is how collaboration actually works. As the build gets underway, she and Sam share a visual workspace, uploading reference images, sketching ideas, leaving notes on materials or finishes. It's like a mood board for the entire project. No phone tag, no lost DMs, no juggling between text threads or photo folders. Everything stays connected in one living, evolving canvas, visual, iterative, and collaborative, the way artists actually work. Here's what else makes Makerlist unique. Artists aren't just clients or providers, they're both. Julia isn't just looking for help, she's also a skilled builder. And with multiple projects to fund after losing her studio, she needs income fast. Makerlist is built for exactly this moment. No second account, no switching platforms. She just navigates to her services dashboard and clicks Add a new service. Within seconds, she has a live listing that other artists can discover and request quotes from. Julia checks her profile to reflect back on the progress she's making towards rebuilding. In just a few weeks, she's earned income from a few mold-making projects, funded 5 of her own projects, and built relationships with artists she'll collaborate with for years to come. Because on Makerlist, you're never just hiring or just working. You're building a community that sustains you. Ready to start building? Join the waitlist at joinmakerlist.com.
Thank you, Katie. Great job. And now the judges will deliberate. Remember, folks in the audience, that you can also ask questions. Katie will be joining the chat thread right after this.
Brian, do you want to
I
go
can
first?
kick this off. Yeah. Katie, thank you for that walkthrough. Really interesting problem you're solving. I'm curious, when you look at the existing marketplaces on the market that you're looking to kind of carve a niche out of, what portion of users that are using those competitors do you think are having kind of a burning need where they're willing to kind of leave the standard in the market to go move to something that's more niche for this area?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think the interesting thing, and this is just from all the surveys I've done and talking with people and observing the behavior on the different chats I'm a part of, is that most people aren't actually using those other platforms. Like, they really just don't solve the need. The majority of these type of art production, requests are happening across WhatsApp, happening on Instagram. They're more of these social networks that they're happening on. The reality is, if Thumbtack, if Yelp, if these other platforms really met the need, even if it wasn't really well, they would be using them, right? If they had this burning problem, they would kind of figure it out through that. But it just doesn't solve their problem. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of sketching ideas and texting them, just that back and forth over and over again, this very visual way that those other platforms just really don't address. The UX of some of these other platforms, it's very linear. Artists work in this very iterative, collaborative, back and forth way, and this very visual way. And, sure, they could build these features, but they would have to completely redo their entire UX to serve a market that isn't the majority of their users.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
So where do you see opportunities to use AI here to make your product better?
Yeah, I mean, definitely just in the whole image generation piece. I think one of the really cool things about AI is that it sort of aligns really well with divergent thinking, right? Like artists are really creative, divergent, generative thinkers. And I remember, one of the first things I did when I was testing the AI out and trying to decide which LLM, I was actually taking a real world scenario that I had done with the service provider, which was rebuilding a piece of a ceramic sculpture I made. And I was using, ChatGPT and these other LLMs to try to rebuild the base of this sculpture. And what I found was the images it was generating were even like cooler than what I originally imagined, So I think it really lends itself towards just this idea of innovation and actually helping people like get out of their box and think even beyond their own minds. And it's not that has to be the end object, but they can take something that the AI came up with and then continue to riff on that on both sides, the client and the service provider side. And then beyond that, there's of course, ways to just make the whole process more productive and faster, just with the entire product speccing workflow. One of the things we have planned is basically like an intent filter. So you can chat with the AI and it can actually fill the entire project brief. So there's, of course, all of the sort of productivity pieces as well that come with it.
And have you thought about partnerships for distribution here?
Have I thought about what? Sorry.
Partnerships for distribution?
Partnerships. Yeah. So
who could be a great partner here?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the spaces we're starting out in is with schools. It's really ideal to get in with students kind of before they even have their big show, their big first solo show. That's where artists start to feel the pressure of deadlines and start to have more production costs kind of for the first time in their life. And also in terms of access, that's part of the mission. It actually enables us to help provide art services and production services to programs that otherwise might not be able to offer that. So, sure, some of these huge schools with huge endowments and lots of public funding, they can build out these $1 million service, production areas. They can build out a woodworking facility. They can build out a kiln area for ceramics. But some of the smaller schools can't necessarily do that. So this actually helps offer access to service providers and access for artists to be able to continue making their work, even if their program may not necessarily be able to offer that.
And following up on that, Katie, I'd love for you to share just a little bit more about long-term vision. So it seems like go to market, you have some thoughts and ideas around that, right? Starting with schools, but what's like the long range vision you have in mind?
Yeah, I guess just in terms of which piece.
Well, just for the business, when you think about when you think about MVP 2 or 3, right? What's coming next on the horizon for you? What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. I think eventually my ideal world is Makerlist really owns that full service, full end-to-end production workflow for artists. So right now we're really focusing on the beginning of that, kind of that initial match, the initial production of that art object. But that has a whole life. Once you have a sculpture built, a pedestal built, what happens next? Well, do you have to go pick it up, or can that get shipped directly to the gallery that it's going to? Who installs it? Who takes photographs of the work? There's an entire ecosystem, entire infrastructure built around this economy that is just total piecemeal. So definitely that's the long-term vision, is really owning the end-to-end production workflow for these objects.
Thank you, Katie. We appreciate you bringing us into that world. Great pitch and great demo. Thank you. All right. Major thanks to the judges for asking such great questions. And so the next founder we're going to have join us tonight is coming to us from Texas. We've got Quinn Cummings here. And so really quickly, all right, yes, Quinn. So Quinn is actually working on a really interesting problem where she's finding and banking quality teachable moments as a parent. And so I think this will be super relatable to a lot of people in the audience as you're thinking about how to deepen that bond between you and your child and to be able to teach them things about the world. That especially now with a lot of things going on. So I think Quinn would be excited to have you come and take the floor now as our third founder who's going to be talking about reading to connect.
Hello. I'm Quinn Cummings, founder of the Reading to Connect movement, community, and podcast. For 6 years, I've been transforming family reading from a mundane literacy task into the most powerful connection moment of the day. And this work started with a question I couldn't shake. By the time my son was 4, I'd read Big Bad Bunny about 100 times. I was a single mom, exhausted. Reading was supposed to build our bond. But I kept wondering, did this moment matter or did I just check off a task? I wanted to be an engaged parent, but I had no idea how with the time that I had. Turns out I wasn't alone. Parents tell me I want to feel more connected when we read. I just don't know if I'm doing it right or what to focus on. Second, they want reading to feel meaningful, but without guidance, they're just turning pages, hoping the magic just happens. And third, we've only been tracking minutes in books. No way to know if it's working, so doubt grows. And here's what's happening in homes every night. 16 million families will read tonight, the moment that builds attachment. But 40% no longer enjoy it. Reading still happens, connection doesn't. So what went wrong? For decades, parents were told reading is for literacy. Connection got buried. So parents turn the pages, read the words for 20 minutes, but something is missing. And here's the thing, the research is clear. Warmth, responsiveness, and connection make family reading transformative. So why haven't we been reading for connection all along? The book is the doorway. The parent and child must step through it together. No one taught them how until now. This is engaged shared reading, the category I created to put connection at the center of family reading. I spent 6 years building the Engage method, a 6-phase framework that teaches parents how to build connection and emotional insight. My community proved it works. Families needed something they could use tonight. So the app became inevitable. Parents choose a value and a connection approach. AI generates reading guidance tailored to the book, the child's age, and the moment they're in. A new reason to read transforms everything. First, reading becomes purposeful. Before selecting a book, parents choose their focus like courage and creativity. Second, connection is created intentionally. AI generates guidance based on how the parent chooses to connect. Third, parents see proof. They log moments, not minutes. These moments guide future recommendations and show their connection story growing over time. These moments, already changing lives. One prompt, one moment, real impact. And the market is ready. 12 million US families already read to kids ages 5 to 12. At $120 per year, that's a $1.4 billion market. We start with our existing audience, then expand to the 40% of parents who want reading to feel better. We monetize through subscriptions, affiliate revenue, publisher partnerships, and licensing. Our IP and ecosystem make this approach defensible. And the traction shows we're ready to scale. Over 1,600 families are already changing how they read in our community. And that That's my son, Aiden, now 11, the same little boy I once worried I wasn't connecting with reading Big Bad Bunny. Here, he's accepting our mayor's proclamation for Reading to Connect Day, cementing engaged shared reading as a category in our civic record, which spread across cities and counties. Beyond civic recognition, we've tested the app with the people who matter most: educators, community leaders, and parents, and they're already calling the app essential. Here's what's next. We launch Q1 2026. Beta signups are open, just scan the code. Now let me show you what Engage looks like in action. Meet Nina, becoming an engaged parent with Engage. Thank you.
Nina is a mom of 4, and like so many parents, life feels loud. And yet, she knows this truth every parent feels deep down. They don't stay little forever. So here's what connection looks like. The app doesn't start with pressure. It starts with recognition. And the message isn't generic. We're pulling Nina's last log moment. The AI read what she captured, and it reminded her the last moment with Aiden meant something. We'll come back to show you that moment with Aiden later. She taps Start a New Session. What do you want to build together? Nina chooses creativity. This choice tailors every recommendation with the use of AI. She taps Set My Intention. How do you want to connect? There are 6 entry points. She's going to select Connect This to Your World. That tells the AI, bridge the book to everyday life. She's going to select Choose This Approach. She's going to read with Ella, age 5. AI will modify the entire tone of the guidance based on the age of the child. And for Nina, this is perfect. She understands that the app will grow with her family. There are over 1,000 books stored in this database. They are scored across various values. Only books scoring 85 or higher appear on Nina's screen. The AI ranks them dynamically based on Nina's chosen value, Ella's age, and the engaged step that she selected. This is expertise scaled by AI, refined by human touch. Nina sees where the wild things are. What's important to notice is why this book. AI is not taking Amazon's summary, it's taking the information from the book and telling the parent how it is that this book will work for exactly the value that they've selected. We're going to scroll down to check out the family moments and the community moments. These are real stories from real families. This is social proof of the connection that's possible. She taps See Your Guidance. This is where the AI is doing real work. It is distilling the Engage method into reading guidance in real time. When Max sails to the land of the wild things, this reminds me of the time we tried something new together, like when we made that big art project. Nina is all set. She's going to save the guidance. Nina's back on the app after her reading session with Ella. Here she needed a reminder she could view full guidance. Nina is ready to log her moment. She's going to enter her moment. Nina's going to share this moment with the community. We can see Nina's connection story here. It's important to note that it doesn't track pages read, but moments. And here's the moment from earlier. This is what the AI pulled from to affirm Nina. Nina's able to see the stories that are creating real moments. She's had 17 moments shared over 25 reading sessions for creativity. 6 moments shared over 6 reading sessions. This is proof. And when Nina doubts herself, as every parent does, she opens his app and sees the pattern. Connection isn't accidental. It's being built one moment at a time.
Great pitch, Quinn. Great pitch. Congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you.
that was a wonderful product demo. Brian or Emmanuel, do either of you want to jump in?
I guess I'll jump. I mean,
Okay.
having to read a story to my daughter and right after this, I can very much relate to the problem we're trying to solve here. Where do you get the database of books? And how do you keep that updated? And how do that? Are you thinking about different languages here?
Yes, different languages are definitely in the future. The database of books is my own proprietary database of books, curated over the years. I'm actually a HarperCollins tastemaker. I've been reviewing books for about 6 years, both professionally and just to have people on my show, authors on my show. The books are updated regularly, and in the future, we'll be adding in also self-published authors so that we can expand the database.
So is the idea to make money out of which books people read, or not really?
The idea is to make money off of affiliate revenue from the books, in the
Okay.
future, publisher partnerships, and then also partnerships with authors as we expand their ability to connect with parents through the app.
Thank you so much, Quinn. Great to see the demo. I imagine many parents are familiar with the experience of like the repetition of reading the books and like the challenge you expressed around that. The insight and the research around like the importance of the connection that is part of that is something that I think also the parent needs to understand in order to kind of get why to adopt this app. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like how you've been able to educate people as part of not only are you solving a problem, but you're potentially improving the way they read to their children, perhaps in a way that they may not have realized was important. And so there's kind of an education aspect of increasing adoption here. And I'm curious how you've thought about that, how you've approached it.
You know, over the years, Brian, I've been digging into this problem, and you're completely correct. It is education that needs to happen. So, over the years on my show, in my community, and just talking to parents and working with them in the school district and in their homes, we've discovered that parents do need a bit of education. We have actually our full ecosystem, which spends time with the parents, offering other products that helps them at different levels. In the future of the app, besides distilling the app and being able to work the app and make it easier for parents so they have something to use tonight, we also have a premium course. So there will be an upsell in the course so that we can really educate the parents. The plan with the app was to lessen the cognitive load, not give the parent too much to think about. Over time, the app will learn them with the use of AI, and they won't need too much education. We'll give them what they should say to their child. They can flex it. They can do whatever they want with that prompt. We're just giving them guidance.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quinn, my question is more so about your background, and I love that you shared the work you've done with HarperCollins and your podcast. And so I want to know a little bit more about how that has influenced just the direction, because one thing we talk about often in Immerse is that there are so many creative ways to take the insight that you guys have all distilled, right, from in your customer discovery. And, it's very easy to take the insight, but the features are not one-to-one. Right? It's not like just because someone said this, that means that we need to build this. So tell me a little bit about how that process for you, right? Because you've been in and around it. You've been talking to authors, you've been talking to parents, and you obviously through your personal experience, you have a lot of touch points that are various different emotional levels, right? And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I'm not sure I understood the question, but I'll try here. So in working, can you ask me that another way?
Yeah, so
Maybe?
I want you to explain to the group, Quinn, what we talk about when it comes to your background and being able to see this problem from so many different points of views. As you run a podcast, right? You also, through your business, have worked with families
Yes.
directly. When we were working on your pitch, there are very specific titles that bubble to the top that you wanted to connect with, right? And so you've been steeped in this problem for a while. And so I just wanted you to share with the group just how you've been able to understand, like, these are the most important insights to bring into the app. And I know you've got later plans, but you had to make decisions, right? In the past
Yes.
8.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I want to talk about an experience that I had recently. Actually, I'm an ambassador for our local school district, and I was principal for a day about a month ago. And one of the things that I was able to do was sit in with the language arts teachers as they were going over testing, and I was able to ask them, what can parents be doing at home in order to increase the connection when they're reading and to help with testing? And one of the things that they said was just read the book and talk about the book. That kind of confirmed everything that I've been working on over the years with parents, because they think that instruction is easy, but it's actually not. Oftentimes parents, as I'm working with them in the community and working with them in their homes, they freeze when they're at the book, right? And they're just turning the pages. So many of the different experiences that I've had over the years, and especially the experience that I had with my son, let me listen to the pain points of different parents and what they're experiencing when they're reading. There are so many reasons why parents are not reading with their kids or not using the time the way that they likely should. And so all that experience over the years just came into the app and also made me focus less on literacy and more on connection, because I feel like when we do that, more parents will be attracted to the activity that can really change and transform their life.
Thank you, Quinn.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Judges, thank you so much. We are now transitioning to our final founder of the night. Last but not least, but I think it's quite fitting because she's coming to us from upstate New York, so Bubble's home state, right? So Stephanie, please take the floor. But she is taking on, she's taking on the challenge of solving for how to create relevant material for adult learners, right? So you can imagine if you move to this country and you don't yet speak English, right? It's a big undertaking in order to learn the language, and also that really dictates, the outcomes of your life here or anywhere you may have immigrated, right? So Stephanie is solving for that problem, and we're excited to have her on stage and to demo the product that she's built over the last couple of weeks.
Ooh, all right. So imagine that you are rebuilding your life in a new country. It is a gargantuan task to adapt to a new culture. You have less support than you're used to, and then a brutal truth hits. The language class that you're placed in determines your future. That is reality for over 19 million US adults learning English. Their English classes determine whether they can hold a job or help their children with school. I'm Stephanie. I'm a former English teacher and founder of VerbaVista. I taught for 4 years in Rio while learning Portuguese myself, and then a decade online. Through my experience, one thing is really clear. People learn through connection, and teachers make that connection possible. But teachers are burning out trying to make that connection. On language learning platforms, a teacher might advertise $20 an hour. After lesson prep and platform fees are taken out, they might be earning closer to $8.50. That is one hidden cost of lesson prep. An ESL program director I talked to was forced to combine beginner and intermediate students into one classroom. It took educators 2 full years to adapt lessons that accommodated both of those levels. That's 2 years of students sitting through lessons not designed for them. Another hidden cost. For most ESL teachers, lesson prep is unpaid or inadequately compensated. Students' progress stagnates when teachers have to choose between their own well-being and their students'. This is not inefficiency, it's a broken system. So, what does it take to fix it? Meet Verbi. It turns lesson prep from an hour-long burden into a 5-minute co-creation process. Every time teachers create lessons with Verbi, whether only twice a week or for 5 classes a day, time and energy are saved. Unlike generic AI tools, Verbi is built to support English instruction. Teachers get level-aligned lesson plans with activities that are shaped by their preferred teaching frameworks. Students get instruction that's tailored to their needs and interests. The system finally works for everyone. And here's the magic. Teachers can adapt VerbaVista materials for a different level in seconds. Mixed-level classrooms don't mean teachers and students suffer through long adaptation periods anymore. VerbaVista is centered around student dignity and teacher empowerment. Every learner deserves lessons that accelerate them towards their goals and acknowledge their individuality regardless of their budget. Teachers must be freed from the threat of burnout without being displaced. I plan to donate Verbi to community-based programs in Rochester other sanctuary cities, and beyond. To scale that impact, I'm looking for ESL and ENL program intros and strategic partners. It has been a journey to get here. First, I built the wrong prototype and learned I wasn't solving an urgent problem. I started over, joining NextCore's startup incubator, and then my local small business development center. During discovery, teachers were clear. They don't want automation. They want support and control. That's why agency became Verbi's core design principle. Right now, I have direct access to over 5,000 educators, and 10 beta testers are ready to go. There are over 50,000 independent online ESL teachers. They're struggling the most with unpaid lesson prep. The overall market is worth $8 billion. Our freemium model offers 2 free lesson plans and then a $12 a month subscription after. Verbi promises to turn 1 hour of unpaid lesson prep into just 5 minutes, giving teachers back $20 to $40 in additional earning income per lesson. Not to mention the impact of bolstering English learners who are seeking gainful employment. Now, remember that 2-year-long mixed-level classroom adaptation? Let me show you how a professor solves that same challenge in just minutes with VerbaVista.
Michelle Wong, an ESL professor, has signed into VerbaVista to prepare lesson plans for her class next week. She scans the lessons she's recently made to refresh her memory, and then she navigates to her student folders. Michelle has been stressed because she's facing a huge challenge this semester. The university combined 2 different levels, intermediate and elementary, into this one classroom. She is investing in ensuring that every student makes progress in her class. But planning 2 versions of every lesson for each level is threatening to burn her out. Michelle needs to get right to work. Michelle checks the student folder and then verifies the information Verbi shows her. She sees that Verbi knows her preferred teaching framework, and she trusts that Verbi is going to provide the same structure for her students that they have come to expect in her class. Verbi suggests some topics to get her started. She picks this one. Michelle adds learning objectives and chooses language skills that are appropriate given the topic. Verbi handles the rest. Now Michelle can see the complete lesson plan. She notes the clear overview, she sees 3 activities, and she even notes the homework task in the lesson summary. She's going to scan through each activity to make sure that it meets her requirements for tone, level, and flow. With a quick review, her lesson is complete. Michelle copies the lesson title. She's going to add it to her syllabus. And later she'll get to download the complete PDF of the lesson. But wait, what about her elementary students? Michelle smiles knowingly as she clicks the Adapt to Another Level button and chooses elementary. In seconds, Verbi will revamp her lesson. Michelle's trained eye immediately spots important differences like key vocabulary changes and simplified language for the directions. Now she can sigh a breath of relief. She's ready for her class. Michelle gets her evening back, and her students get lessons built for their real lives. This is VerbaVista, enhanced lesson planning that respects real classrooms.
Great job, Stephanie. Thank you so much for introducing us to VerbaVista. And now the judges will ask the questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. really cool demo to see. I'm curious, how much in kind of trying this out with people, how much iteration and editing has typically been required on top of what the AI is putting out? Kind of what's the level of accuracy that you're seeing, and has that caused any frustration?
Yeah, so this is something that's going to be honed further in beta testing. So you're seeing, the first version of the product, and obviously the accuracy is going to be improved as more people get in there and use it. So yeah, feedback is key in that area. But, in terms of addressing that concern from teachers, they do expect high quality results the first time around. And that is a goal that I aspire to from the get-go, during public launch. Yeah, I really hope that teachers really just feel the time invested is lessened overall without compromising on the quality of what's put out. And so keeping that in mind, everything that I'm iterating on about the product in early days is centered around that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you seen a need to also plan kind of across lesson plans more holistically? And how does kind of what you're building potentially relate to that?
So, in terms of like connecting lesson to
Yeah.
lesson for cohesive purposes, there's actually that central place that I mentioned in the demo, the student folder.
Yeah.
And we have access to all of that lesson history, and, knowledge is power. So definitely aggregating that information is going to be a powerful tool in the future for teachers to draw upon.
Great. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit? Great demo, Stephanie. Can you talk a little bit about the launch strategy? Like, how are you trying to get as many teachers as possible on your platform?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, I plan to start with, the teachers within my network. So different, teaching groups that I'm involved in for years now. And I am starting with a smaller group of beta testers. I do hope that there is some organic growth in the beginning, because on a weekly basis, there are teachers asking for tools for specific groups of students for specific purposes. So, this is asked for on a regular basis. And if you're in the regular rotation of like the same 4 or 5 tools being mentioned, you can guarantee some organic growth is going to happen. Later on, after I figure out the product market fit for individual teachers and get the product right, that's when I plan to start with a more B2B approach. And so I would love to have, like group subscriptions for entire either small to medium language schools or different ESL or ENL language programs. So that's on the future roadmap.
Are there some national companies that have like English language schools across the country? Is that something you could explore?
Not necessarily national. So there are different freelancing platforms, for example, that would fit right in with, my target group that I'm going to start with of these independent online teachers. Yeah, I guess that's to be determined.
And what's the plan for monetization? Like, how much money do you think you can make here?
So I think the sweet spot for teachers, especially with low income, is between 10 and 20 a month. Really just making sure teachers get that value first lesson generation, that it's, somewhere around $20 worth of value in one lesson plan. That's undisputable. So that's the sweet spot. I do want to also offer credit bundles so that teachers can purchase a certain number of lesson plans at a time.
Stephanie, thank you so much. Could you tell us a little bit more about, I think when we were coaching weekly, I loved learning about this independent online sort of teaching group that exists that you used to be a part of when you were teaching in Brazil as well. So could you sketch that out for us, for those of us who aren't in your space? Like, who is this teacher? Are they a remote worker that's traveling? Like, how does this fit into, or how could this potentially fit into their lives?
Good question. So you can kind of think of this as a gig economy. So imagine like Uber drivers or like, people who drive for a living. Like that would be the equivalent of these independent online teachers who are posting their offerings, I guess, their hourly rate on freelancing platforms like italki, Preply. There are, at least 5 or 6 I could think of. They do pay a percentage of their hourly rate to those platforms. Usually it's around 15%, so it's quite steep. The longer that you teach on a platform, the lower that goes. But you're supplied with a steady stream of students. It's a pretty happy exchange. There are independent online teachers who are more like teacherpreneurs. They have like this business mindset, and they also create their own like courses. They have their own different offerings. They're looking to really scale as either a teacher influencer, a coach, or just a full-blown business. So, that's a whole other side, teachers as business people. And then there's the group that I belong to for the longest, which are teachers who are provided a curriculum. They don't have to source their own materials. They're paid the least, but they also have the widest breadth of students that they get to interact with. So, it's really those three buckets. Teachers provide a curriculum, teachers their own curriculum and own rates, and then teachers who are in it on their own.
No, thank you for sketching that out. I think it's important for everyone to understand like the various groups within the independent teacher category. So thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so judges, thank you so much for our last but not least founder of the evening. And so for everyone in the audience, remember that Stephanie will be joining, and she can take questions, any questions you had about her platform or her business pitch. Please do ask them now. But this is also the part of the night where we will be transitioning the judge panel to go and deliberate. And Monica from the Immerse team is actually going to share a little bit more about what's going to be happening in the interim while you guys are here and the judge panel is deliberating. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Hello, everyone. So hopefully y'all have enjoyed all of the founders' demos, because I know it's been especially riveting for me just seeing their journey from day one up until demo day today. So with that being said, as Nichole mentioned, while Nichole and the judges are deliberating this year's grand prize winners, we have two very exciting things happening simultaneously. So audience voting and an interview panel featuring two incredible individuals in the AI and social impact space. So regarding voting, now is the time for you to help us choose our community favorite award winner. You have two ways to cast your vote. If you're watching with others or have your phone handy, scan the QR code you see on the screen right now. And if you're tuning in from your computer, you can click the moving banner link right above my head, like so. And please vote as soon as possible. The QR code will stay up here until we bring out our panelists, but that banner link will disappear close to when the interview wraps up. So make sure that you go ahead and cast your vote. And speaking of our interview, while you're voting, we have a fantastic fireside chat lined up for you. So it is my utmost personal pleasure to welcome two thought leaders and honestly Immerse program legends at this point, Brian Jagger and Renee Jackson. Brian is the founder and CTO of Tech Ally and Guardrails, both AI-powered solutions in accessibility and education. He works as a white hat tester for generative AI platforms and holds 3 pending AI-related patents. Brian also has been developing on Bubble since 2019 and mentored for Immerse for the past 2 years. Both of his mentees actually won the grand prize, so he's definitely no novice mentor. Most recently, he served as the official AI advisor in residence for the Immerse program. And then as for Renee, some of you may recall her as Immerse's Best Pitch winner last year as the founder and CEO of Dispute.ai, a platform using AI to make dispute resolution accessible and affordable for small businesses and individuals. She holds a JD, MBA, and also founded Blue Oak Legal, providing fractional general counsel services to startups. Renee also teaches negotiations at the University of New Hampshire, and her background in law, business, and technology inspired her to create Dispute.ai to make dispute resolution more fair and accessible for everyone. So, without further ado, everyone please join me in welcoming Brian and Renee.
Well, hello, and I don't know that I could have gotten a better intro than that. First off, Renee, good to see you.
You too.
Monica, thank you for that amazing introduction, and hello everyone, and congratulations to all of the Immerse founders that presented this year. It was great to see your demos. I have had the good fortune of getting to see everybody that was in Immerse this year throughout the course of their development, being the AI mentor, the advisor in residence. So I got to see some progress on those projects throughout the year, or throughout the program, I should say. And it's been really motivating and exciting to see their progress. So that's been great to see their demos. So just a quick introduction, although Monica did a great job. Brian Jagger, AI advisor in residence for this year's Immerse program. I had the extremely good fortune of being paired up with Renee last year as her mentor in the Immerse program, which was my second year as a direct mentor in the program, and could not have been any luckier to have been paired up with her. And it was such an honor working with you, Renee. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, it's good to be back. I'm Renee. I think Monica did a wonderful job introducing me. I have no notes, nothing left to say. So let's just jump in.
Sounds great. So yeah, I think we're going to chat a little bit today about kind of our experiences in the Immerse program. Do you want to start?
Sure. So as Monica mentioned, I did win last year's Best Pitch Award, which was a highlight of the year. And after that, I think what the interesting part came, right? So immediately after that, I literally went and got married. But after I got married, I reached out to Brian, and we talked about how do we continue working together to actually launch this thing that I built in Immerse. So what I built was an AI mediator, basically a neutral third party that happens to be an AI bot to help resolve common two-party disputes, and did a pretty good job building it in Immerse, but it wasn't ready for prime time out of the gate. And so, Brian and I kind of linked up shortly after Immerse ended to try to figure out how to get it production ready and how to get it out the door. And so, we've been working together since then, which has been a pleasure.
Yeah, and I would like to emphasize, when you say that you got married right after, I think it needs to be emphasized that you don't mean like the week after.
No, like the day after.
Yeah. Like you left BubbleCon, like jetted out of that place and was like, bye. Like, gotta go get married, which I thought was hysterical. So yeah, that was great. And, and I really am so glad that we got the opportunity to work together on Dispute, which, if anybody's interested, is dispute.ai, and it's DYSPUTE.ai. Because you were really building something that was, and I've been working in AI since before, as long as I've been working in Bubble. I've been working in AI since 2017, and it wasn't AI like we call it now. And really, your approach and what you were doing was so different and unique with your mediator, right? With the idea of creating this impartial resolution outlook AI to really help people kind of bypass this small claims court kind of process to kind of provide a service that I think is really needed out in that world. And I think people look at legal as being one of those big things to overcome. And I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts and interviews just now, and we're talking about a year ago when you were really bringing this first to Immerse. But to have an attorney bring this to market, I think is really special. To have someone with your expertise, your background, say, as an attorney, I know we need this for people every day to be able to have a better solution, and there can be a way for AI to help this, I think is really impactful. Can you talk a little bit more about why, as an attorney, you that was your market choice?
So I've been practicing for coming up on 20 years now, and I've spent a fair amount of time litigating on behalf of my clients and companies that I've worked for. And mediation has been the most effective tool to resolve disputes early, but it's still incredibly expensive. It can cost $3,000 to $20,000 a day to hire a mediator. And so I saw the opportunity to create a lower cost AI mediator that could help with common two-party disputes like landlord-tenant, employer-employee, homeowner-contractor, so that more people could get access to this very effective tool. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to litigate because it costs too much money, it wastes so much time and energy, and
I think you could have just stopped it. Nobody wants to litigate, period.
Yeah,
I don't think there's even anything needed after that. I think.
Yeah. And
Sorry,
so
continue.
I don't know that I had any business trying to build it, but I got the idea in my head and I couldn't get it out. And so that's kind of how I stumbled upon Immerse and ended up being able to build it, and had a lot of fun doing it and learned a lot. It's one thing to interact with and use a product or work for a tech company in their legal department, but it's a whole other thing to actually build it yourself. There are so many little decisions and things you need to think about that may have never crossed your mind previously as a lawyer when you're building. And so that is really what was the most fun for me. What about you? You basically helped hook up the AI on the back end and helped with all the prompt engineering and helped bring Adri, that's the AI mediator, to life. And so what was interesting to you about the project initially, and then bringing you on to continue working on it?
Yeah, I was really interested from the get-go, and that's why I said that I was so lucky to have been paired with you. I think that the idea of AI being able to supplement our daily work is great, but to be able to solve kind of these bigger problems at scale is also really, really amazing. And I think these bigger problems at scale are, where are there opportunities that there are problems in the system, meaning kind of the system at large, that cause disruption in kind of the way that anything goes forward. And I think the legal system is a big place where there's a huge disruption in everyday life when the average person can't get to small claims. They can't do mediation. They have a problem with a small business or a large business. With an airline, or you and I talked. I had a pretty big issue with an airline while we were working on this, and that motivated me and some of my inspiration in working with this on you, or working with you on this. That those issues, and that the ability to be able to address those issues isn't something that's obtainable by the average person quickly and easily. And to be able to have something that AI, which has been a passion of mine for so long, to really help and make it accessible for the average person, I think is such a valuable mission. And that's what really excited me about Adrian, about this tool. And that's the consumer side. And I think then the business side is also, as an entrepreneur, as someone who builds businesses and helps others build their websites and businesses and tools. I think that it's important for small businesses to be able to have some reliable resource to know that they're going to have a safety net, and that Adri and Dispute provides that for them too. So I really love the two-sided mission that this platform provides, and so that I've been really excited to work with you on this for over a year now.
So let's talk about that. So after demo day and after I got married, I think there's a lot of work that goes in between that and actually launching an MVP out into the public. And so, I think we spent, demo day was at the beginning of October and we launched in mid-March. So, it took five to 6 months to get it ready for prime time. And, there was a lot of work that went into it. And I think what I learned over that period of time is it's really helpful to work with a professional like Brian, because, like I said before, there are so many things that I didn't know to even think about, or I didn't know were decisions that I had to make. And, Brian and, any professional should be able to present those to you in a way that you kind of can talk through and understand. I'm a very curious person, so I want to know how everything works. I wanted to get into Bubble even after demo day, and even after Brian was, focused on the build. I was still in there making copy changes, dragging things around because I can't help myself. And I think what I learned in the whole process is, wow, there's a lot of QA. I mean, I have nightmares about the amount of QA that we did before we launched this. I think part of it, it's a legal tech product, so you need to make sure that everything's working. But gosh, I was not at all prepared for the hours of QA that we spent together. So, but from your perspective, what are the biggest steps between a successful demo day and then actually getting a product ready for launch?
Well, I think the QA is the most important part, right? I was just working on another project where the same thing, and it happened to me where, when I'm building, I build very logically, and I think that helps me as an engineer, but sometimes doesn't necessarily help me for some consumer-facing products, because sometimes consumers do different things, and they will go. Somebody will send me a video of how they use something. I'll say, hey, can you, there'll be a pilot tester for me. And I'll say, can you send me a video of what you did? And they'll send me a video, and I'll be like, why on God's green earth did they click that button at that point in time? And it's because they thought that's what they should do. And to me, that made absolutely no logical sense. But for them, they thought that they should click that button. I can't explain why anybody would ever have clicked that thing at that time, but it's good to know that for some reason somebody might think that was something to do. And so getting that, as nonsensical as it may be for people to do certain things at certain times, getting that feedback and getting that use case and getting that experience and feedback is so critical, because we're always going to look at things our way. And I think that's another example of something that, we can have AI do testing as much as we want to, but AI is going to always be really good at testing it the way that it should work. And there's always going to be something for having human testers do things that are the way that they shouldn't work. And so human testing is really good for having people test it the way that it shouldn't work. And you're absolutely right. The QA and just finding idiosyncrasies and use cases that you would have never thought of, and getting that feedback is so absolutely critical. And I think that's something that everybody should absolutely be prepared for when, coming out of kind of the pre-MVP, if you will, or coming out of a demo day or getting ready for that MVP of releasing it, is getting that initial feedback and getting that information from those users about what it's really like using that product in a way that you would not have thought of.
Yeah. I think as a founder, another thing I learned is you need to have very, very thick skin, because when you let other people test your product,
your baby,
they're calling your baby ugly, and and they're using it in ways that you didn't anticipate them using, and they're usually right. And so you have to kind of have thick skin, take all of the feedback in, especially, really pull out themes. I think that's one thing that we did a great job of. Brian and the rest of the team, we had an offsite and we really pulled out all of the themes from the beta testing. And so instead of looking at all the feedback in a negative way, if you can organize it, pull out the key themes, and then figure out, how do you take the next step with the product? It's a really valuable exercise, as opposed to just internalizing it and saying nobody likes it, nobody wants to use it, nobody knows how to use it. At the end of the day, people still loved the product that we built.
Absolutely.
I think the idea is fantastic. And I think a lot of it was just kind of, tweaking some flows, tightening some language. And so, it's a great process to go through, but you really, really need to have thick skin because if you don't, you won't sleep.
Well, the reality is, and this is hard to accept, but the reality is that the people who are giving you feedback that's maybe not necessarily glowing are actually the ones who are giving you the best feedback.
Yeah.
Right? That's actually the most valuable feedback. It's hard to accept, like you said. It's that thick skin. I mean, I'm the same way as a developer, but it's absolutely the best feedback. If everybody just said, "Oh, that's great," that doesn't really help anything. It doesn't help build it for what's actually maybe missing or what their needs there may be. So that's, I think, really, really important to remember that thick skin is important and extremely valuable.
Yep. Shall we nerd out on AI a little bit?
I am always down to nerd out on AI.
So,
Always.
About over 12 months ago is when, we graduated that Immerse, and a lot has happened in AI with LLMs, and with a lot of the work that you've been doing, in the last 12 months. What are you seeing in the landscape now for AI, specifically as it relates to founders building on Bubble and in general? Just walk us through what's happened in the past 12 months and why it's been important.
Well, I think the biggest thing, Bubble related, obviously, is that the coding agents have gotten better, and specifically Anthropic, and I think that has allowed for Bubble to be able to introduce their AI agent, and for that to be a pretty good AI agent. I've definitely had some time to play with that, and I think it's really good. That's Bubble specific. I think that in the greater scheme of things, AI in general, I mean, to say in the last 12 months, in the last 12 days, there have been 2 major model releases, right? I mean, OpenAI 5.1 has come out, and was it yesterday, the day before, Gemini 3 came out. So these are what I would consider major model releases literally in the last 7 days. So that's, I think, one of the bigger challenges, and this applies to legal too. I think people look at legal and code as 2 of the bigger applications of AI because it's all text based, and I can't believe when I hear people say this, it doesn't change as much. And I look at people and go, well, there's new case law written every day. So I don't know what you mean by it doesn't change much. And AI, every time a new model comes out, sometimes these model providers, these foundational models, your OpenAIs and your Anthropics, etc., they change how the models are configured, and so when you're writing your API, you have to change how the configuration is, and so that changes. And so some of these new tools, like these vibe coding tools that are not Bubble, but some of these other ones, they rely on these other code banks, and they will default to an older model, and they don't even know how to use their own configuration. You'll be using Sonnet 4.5, and it'll be which is the newest Claude model, and it will try to write something using an older version. And what I mean by that is it doesn't know how to write itself, and it gets stuck in this loop where it can't write its own configuration. One of the really nice things about building in Bubble is the control over your APIs. and building AI in Bubble. And once you can master, and I get sometimes slapped on the wrist for talking too high level, and so I'm going to just make it basic. And so don't forget to slap me on the wrist if I talk too high level. The APIs, if you can figure out the API integration in Bubble and how to put in your, to get a basic API call to your large language models, and realize that when a new model comes out, it may change how that configuration is. And it's pretty easy to change that. But be aware that when a new major model comes out and you want to test it, it may change. And if you need to do so, it's going to be probably pretty easy once you figure out how to do that to change it. And once you do that, then it's done. That's something you can't do as easily, even in these vibe coding applications. And so I think that's something that's really important to be aware of with the benefit of Bubble. And no, Bubble doesn't pay me to say this. I just am saying that's one of the reasons why I've loved building AI in Bubble. I mean, there's lots of other reasons, but that is something that's important when we talk about the changing landscape, is when they change these configurations and they add new things like these, new ways to reason and think, and they add new parameters. And I'm not going to get into all the specifics because that will be talking too high level, but they change things. And those changes are not always picked up in the vibe coding platforms. So it's important for you as a builder to know how to do that. It's easy to do, and it's easy to do in Bubble. How has it impacted you in what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I learned when we worked together was you really need to, as a founder, understand what models are available, what new models are coming out, what they do and don't do, because and what's changing and what's going away. Like for example, so we built Adri, the AI mediator, as an assistant in OpenAI. And, we gave her instructions on how to operate. We put documents in the vector store to train her. There's a lot of prompt engineering for making it work, with the calls. And then OpenAI, decided to deprecate assistants.
Right. Right.
And so thankfully, there's a lot of lead time for that, but you really need to pay attention to all the changes that are happening and whether they impact your product. And then I think something that I've learned more recently as we're building version 2 of the platform is using multiple models for different things. And it was something that, we had talked about a lot, Brian, because the platform that we built was using OpenAI only via API. And now I think, at least it feels to me like it's become a little easier to use multiple models for multiple use cases,
and important to do so.
Yeah, and for the best use case, like, okay, we're using Gemini for this, we're using OpenAI for this. I've started 100%. Using Quinn, GWEN. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but I'm using it. And so, and I think from a legal perspective, going back to kind of a legal tech product, the most important thing that I always had to look at when we looked at using a new model is, does it use our data to train its models?
Super important.
The Geminis, the OpenAIs, and Gwen, they don't. We access it through API, so they don't use our data to train their models. But I always need to double, triple check that, because I could never look a user in the face and say, like, yes, all this confidential information about the dispute that you just entered into our platform is being used by OpenAI to train their models. And so you need to pay attention to all of these LLMs. And, not just put your head in the sand because there's a Brian who's taking care of all of it. Like, you need to understand, because you're also going to get questions.
Oh yeah, totally.
When you go talk to investors or when you go talk to potential customers, they will ask these questions. What models are you using? What are you using them for? Does it train on my data? All of that. And so you really need to stay up to date on all of these tools.
Well, what's interesting is that I'm seeing some questions in the chat, and somebody asked if you can use OpenRouter on OpenAI or on Bubble, and the answer is yes, because it's a curl call, and you can absolutely use curl calls, and OpenRouter is a great place to use multiple different LLMs. Quinn is one of them, and when you use OpenRouter, you can actually specifically directed to only use models that don't train
Yep.
and don't use the information. And speaking of the chat, I'm going to go in there and answer some questions and share some information, because it is time for us to hand it back over to Monica.
Thanks,
so
everyone.
Renee, thank you very much for chatting with me. Good to see you, and I really enjoyed catching up and having this conversation.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you.
All right, good.
Hello, everyone. We are back. And so now I'm going to prompt our judges to join me on the virtual stage, and we are going to share some news. It was a very tough conversation because there are really great products to discuss. So I want to thank the founders that are here tonight actually for making it a worthy discussion, right? Because I think you guys are very early stage in the product, but not early in terms of your ideas, your engagement, the customer discovery, all the cool things that you guys are doing and have been doing early on before a whole bunch of people have even touched the product. So I just want to thank the founders tonight for all of the effort. I think for everyone that's watching, I said this in the beginning, that one of the things that people come to Bubble for is the speed and agency. And I think for any founder that's looking to build something, right, being able to be close to the product and be able to iterate on the dime, pivot on the dime is something that is just so important early stages. So I just want to thank the founders for taking on this gauntlet and for coming out with such great products. And so with that being said, I want to announce our first prize. Drum roll, please, everyone in the audience. Our community favorite for cohort 8 is Katie Kirk. Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Katie.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we'll have comments from the judges after, but great job, Katie. We loved what you built, and Emmanuel and Josh will share a little bit more afterwards, but we appreciate all the effort.
Emmanuel and Brian.
Sorry, Emmanuel and Brian.
Awesome.
Next,
Congrats, Katie.
right. And then our best pitch of the night. And now this is what all the founders have been working towards, all that time and effort. And so that will go to, for cohort 8, our best pitch tonight is Quinn Cummings, the founder of Reading to Connect.
Congratulations, Quinn.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you,
congratulations.
Great job on the pitch. And so, Brian and Emmanuel, why don't you share a bit about just some of your thoughts in our discussion?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. Quinn, you did a great job kind of both in the pitch and in the demo. I think it was very clear that this is a relatable problem for so many parents, and the opportunity to use recommendations to help with connecting during that pivotal time had so much opportunity in both recommending the right book, but also guiding in how that book can connect to the kid and see from the community and reinforce that over time. Really resonated. We thought there was so much opportunity with what you're doing, and seeing and hearing about the early traction that you're also seeing with all the work that you're doing to prove it out was great to see. And so we were really excited to give this the Best Pitch Award.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually a pretty controversial conversation, which is a good sign for everyone. I mean, obviously, sometimes I wish, we could give a prize to everyone because everyone has put a lot of hard work, but we had to pick one winner, and so very excited to have that with you, Quinn. I mean, again, I was a little bit biased being a parent myself, and so that's something that I had a sweet spot is. But I think this was a very interesting angle to help parents figure out, how to connect with their kids better. So that was very exciting. And I guess I'll tell everyone. I mean, of course, you and Kate as winners, but everyone in general. There is. I mean, we're here to help as a company. So let us know how we can keep supporting you on the journey for the year to come, but even after. I mean, our goal is to not just having MVPs on the platform, but to have people scale their businesses. And so whatever we can do to help, let us know.
Congratulations, Katie and Quinn. We appreciate all the effort, and to all the founders who were finalists, as Emmanuel mentioned. And I also know I'm also quite biased here in terms of the founders and coaching them over the past couple of weeks and seeing them go from 0 to 1. But as we've always talked about in the program, like doing Immerse is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like most of the work is starting like at 8:01. Right, p.m. Eastern Standard. So congrats and welcome to the work, right? There's so much more that needs to be done afterwards, but we're really happy that we were able to be part of just the little start of the beginning, right? So to all of you, congratulations. And as Emmanuel said, like, please do keep and stay in community with us as you're building both the product and the business. Congrats. And so what we will transition into tonight, first of all, thank everyone here for attending our 8th cohort, our 8th demo day. I know that a few of you, I saw a few of you in the audience have been with us actually for a long time, actually from cohort 1 that I was a part of myself as a founder to our 8th one. So thank you so much for sticking around and seeing the program grow. We started with underrepresented founders and now moved to social impact and really put our stake in the ground because we care about mission-oriented businesses. So thank you all. I want to give one last shout out to our volunteer committee, and that's all the wonderful folks that work at Bubble, that power Bubble, that build the product. Thank you so much for going above and beyond your own responsibilities to help us choose all the founders that demoed tonight. We really appreciate it. Also to the product mentors that give and volunteer their time. Brian's one example, but I shouted out so many others earlier who truly are just excited to work with folks who are at the earliest stages of building product. And so for those of you who are part of our community, right, that's actually, it's a feature, a characteristic actually of our community, that sort of support and help. So thanks once again to the volunteer committees for remembering what it's like to be in a beginner, right, building a bubble. And lastly, I will bring to the stage now a little treat that we have for some of you, the first 200 actually who are able to make it into our after party. So I'll bring to the stage now Lisa, that some of you might remember from either BubbleCon or a previous cohort. And I'm just going to share really briefly what we're going to be doing with Lisa in a few minutes. So welcome to the stage, Lisa.
Hello.
So some of you, hi Lisa. So why don't you quickly tell us who you are, what you do, and I'll share with the folks what we're going to talk with you about afterwards.
Yeah. So hi everyone again, Bubble family. I am Lisa Michelle. I am an Immerse alum from cohort 4, which is crazy. I'm the founder of Bright Squad. I do a lot of other things like be a mom and all the other stuff. But yeah, right. Run a festival, I think you said multi-hyphenate, that's the thing. But I'm super excited to be here. I've always been a part of the Bubble community, obviously from being an Immerse alum. So I think the same sentiments that you shared, just seeing this grow and just the community of bubblers, founders, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Yeah, we saw a lot of questions in the comments about just what it's like to build and bubble and be in the Immerse program. So for those of you who are interested, we are actually opening up rooms for you to have a conversation with Lisa. She's hosting our after party online on butter.us. So we do have the link here, and many of you have signed up. If you're not able to get into the room immediately, just know that as people cycle in and out, you'll have the opportunity to. So do wait and hang out in the waiting room if you do want to connect with Lisa, our host here, or any of the finalists that you met tonight. And so Lisa, thank you so much for being our host. And for those of you who want to connect with her and talk to her about her business, I will also note that Lisa is an incredibly, I would say, not just an enterprising founder, but also I just think back to Lisa, I think you sent me maybe 4 or 5 follow-up emails when you applied to Immerse. Like, hey, I specifically remember that because this girl's got, stick-to-itiveness. So for those of you who are just wondering what it takes, and not being in the Immerse program is one thing, but beyond that, right, growing the business and having to pivot, right, those are all things Lisa can talk about and share in terms of what she did with the business when she left Immerse, right? So if you're interested from the founder point of view, head over to our butter.us after party and connect with Lisa and the rest of the finalists tonight. With that being said, thank you all, and to all, good night.